from Durban, South Africa. We get you the news and the newsmakers from Africa. From elections to climate change to innovations and opportunities. As the world's attention shifts, we report from Africa, the heart of the global South. Join me every weekday live on First Post. Hello and welcome to First Post Africa, where we get you the top stories from the continent and from across the world. I'm Alyson at Grange, coming to you live from Durban, South Africa. First, let's take a look at the headlines. Russian President Vladimir Putin warns South Korea against sending weapons to Ukraine, calling it a big mistake. Putin threatens to send weapons to North Korea. European Union members formally approve launching accession talks with Ukraine and Moldova next week, a landmark event for the two countries. Israeli forces step up strikes at Rafah and other areas across the Gaza Strip as its troops engage in close-quarter combat with Hamas. At least 38 people killed and tens of thousands evacuated as deadly torrential rain triggering floods and landslides continues to hit provinces in southern China. World leaders announce a $1.2 billion program to boost vaccine production in Africa, aimed at giving the continent a better ability to fight diseases, including a cholera resurgence. Hello and welcome. We start with Kenya. While the country's parliament discusses the Finance Bill 2024, anger against the proposed tax hikes under the boil is mounting. Thousands of protesters hit the streets again, taking their agitation to President William Ruto's doorstep. Agitated protesters marched near the president's office and residence on Thursday. The protest against the tax hike has been dubbed as Occupy Parliament. However, as the protesters marched further, clashes broke out. Riot police fired tear gas and used water cannon to disperse the demonstrators. Fighting the crackdown, protesters burned tires, tore down CCTV cameras, and blocked major roads in the capital, Nairobi. Kenyan Parliament has now been sealed off and roads around it are blocked. Gunshots were also heard in the background in some videos shared online.
We are not going to sit at home so that they are going to pass another finance bill without our approval. We are going to add our voice to this, and we need them to understand that we are not okaying what they want to force on us.
One death has been reported and at least 200 people have been injured in the latest demonstrations that took place across Kenya. Over 100 arrests have been made. Around 300 protesters were also arrested earlier this week. The protesters are objecting the proposed new tax hikes under the Finance Bill 2024, through which the government plans to raise around $2.7 billion. Amidst the massive public outcry, the government decided to scrap some of the proposed tax increases. These include a 16% levy on bread, the proposed taxes on motor vehicles, vegetable oil, money transfers, as well as ecological tax on Kenyan products. However, these changes have failed to allay the fears of the people who are demanding the bill to be scrapped completely. Those out on the streets with these demands are mostly young Kenyans who have been protesting the Gen Z way. They have been using social media platforms like TikTok to coordinate the protests, provide real-time updates, and also to live stream the demonstrations and the clashes with police.
Social media, I'm telling you, Ogopa Gen Z. Ogopa Gen Z. Can you see these guys? Like, Ogopa Gen Z. Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, everywhere online. Nobody came and paid nobody. We just came because we're passionate about this cause and we want to reject that bill. Right now we're not paying taxes, but we're fighting for our future. So we're young now, but that's what we need. We need young people to fight for our future rights, our future Kenya, and to just overthrow this silly government, man. We're tired. We're tired.
Now, the finance bill is supposed to be passed before the 30th of June. Some reports say the final vote is expected on the 27th of June. The bill is a part of the latest efforts by President William Ruto's administration to boost revenue and reduce external borrowing for Kenya. Last month, President Ruto defended the proposed taxes, saying the country must be self-sustaining. Kenya, which is an economic powerhouse in Africa, is also home to a large poor population. It is currently dealing with stubbornly high inflation and debt distress. Its GDP is also expected to slow to 5% this year from 5.6% in 2023. Through the new tax bill, it will face opposition, and it is likely to be passed as Ruto's alliance holds a majority in the parliament. Now, for more on this, we are being joined by Professor and political analyst Macharia Munene, who is joining us live from Nairobi, Kenya. Welcome to Firstpost.
Thank you very much.
Now, the demonstrations are continuing in Kenya against the tax hikes, and we are seeing young protesters using social media to coordinate and to live stream these protests. This is being called the Gen Z way. Talk to us about how using social media is impacting the protests.
Thank you. This is a new phenomenon in the country, and the young people doing it, some people are referring to them as the Kibaki's children, because these are the people who went to school when President Kibaki was president, and he had said that all people should go to school, so they went to school and they learned. Now they're in their 20s, and they have become cyber savvy, they are well exposed, and then there is a limit as to what they can do. They are using the technology in a very effective way, more than what many people could have imagined. Although there were signs that things were not very good, few people expected it to go this way, whereby it's snowballing in such a way that it's very difficult for the government to contain it, even if it wanted to.
Right. Professor, Kenyans are protesting this proposed tax reform bill that is due to be passed by the end of the month. How likely are these protests to be effective in changing President Ruto's new tax policies from being implemented? And what will the effect of the tax hikes be on the current cost of living crisis that the people of Kenya are battling with?
Well, first of all, people are very disappointed because the government had shown itself to be insensitive to the concerns of the people. And the impression has been created that it's not even the government of Kenya which is doing it. It is simply following orders from the IMF and the World Bank. And that actually the President Ruto has lost sovereignty. He's not protecting Kenya's interests, but doing what other people want. Now, the law itself, the budget is likely to be passed anyway because the parliament is a rubber stamp parliament. It has no independence. It's full of cowards. And that's what the young people are saying. You people are cowards. You should stand up for what is right. Now, the effect, although there has been some minor changes, or please, they have said they are going to change minor things, but they are not going to do what the youth want. The youth are calling for rejection of the entire thing because the thrust of it is wrong. Since it will be passed, it is going to affect everyday life in the sense that cost of living is going to shoot up. Jobs are going to be lost because already some investors are pulling out because of the exorbitant taxation. Already things are closing down. And so instead of helping the country, it's going to escalate. And as it escalates, and these young people, they have said they are not going to be tired. After all, they have nothing to lose. So they feel that they have a cause. Right now they have a mission. And the mission is to change the way things are done. So the hope is that President Ruto will adjust his thinking and call out national dialogue, not with the fellow politicians, but as a national one to see which way. And then some of his advisors and friends have been misbehaving in public because they waste resources and they like showing that they are doing well. And so when they say there is no money, people wonder, what are you doing? We don't see you saving or being frugal. We see you being exorbitant and extravagant, starting with the president who rents jets to go and to visit Americans and other places instead of flying the common one that everybody wants. So the image is a challenge. They say one thing and the people are seeing different. In fact, it is because there is a discrepancy between statements and deeds that we have this thing. People they have lost trust. They have no confidence in the government.
Right. On that, how will these protests and the tax hikes affect President Ruto's popularity? Is this a threat to his presidential term? And in your opinion, will the tax hikes be able to decrease the huge debt that Kenya has?
No, it will not. The increase in taxes will not reduce the huge debt because, first of all, some of those debts were incurred wrongly, and the money was not used for. If the money had been borrowed for production purposes, we would be seeing the result. So the debt may continue to be, but your question on whether Ruto's popularity is going down, yes, it's already down. If elections were held today, he would lose very, very early in the morning. And he's becoming increasingly aware that he's doing things wrongly. And the accusation, one of them, is that he does not like listening to advice because he advises himself. And apart from advising himself, he is advised by the World Bank and the IMF and by the foreign forces. The US advises him very much and he likes it. So these are some of the problems he has to deal with, but he's not very popular at all in this country right now.
Absolutely. Right. Professor, thank you very much for being with us on Firstpost Africa and for your valued insights on the latest out of Kenya.
Okay, my pleasure. All the best.
Shifting focus to the junta-led West African nation of Burkina Faso. Its military leader, Ibrahim Traore, is reportedly facing a mutiny, which is linked to the June 11 attack by Al-Qaeda-affiliated insurgents that left over 100 Burkina Faso soldiers dead. A day after the attack, gunfire was heard close to the Burkina Faso presidency. A rocket shell also fell near the state-run RTB television's headquarters in the capital of Ouagadougou. Now, this led to the media and activists speculating about whether Traore was safe and if the attack had triggered a wave of dissent within the army. Breaking his silence 10 days after the attack, Burkina Faso's military leader, Ibrahim Traore, appeared on national television. In his address, he denied reports of a mutiny within the army. He dismissed media reports as fake news. Traore said a rocket was launched into RTB's courtyard by mistake by those who were there to protect the TV channel's staff. Traore did not address a claim of responsibility by an Al-Qaeda-affiliated group that said Burkina Faso had launched an operation after the attack. The June 11th attack on the Mansilla area was one of the deadliest that Burkina Faso's army suffered. Fighters from al-Qaeda-affiliated JNIM group stormed a military post and killed 107 soldiers. The fighters had also captured a large amount of weapons and ammunition during the attack. Burkina Faso has been battling Islamist insurgents since 2015. About half of the country is outside government control. In 2022, Ibrahim Traore took over power in the country, citing urgent security challenges, which he said his predecessors failed to tackle. He promised to end the Islamist insurgency. However, despite several counterterrorism operations launched by Traore, the security situation in Burkina Faso continued to deteriorate. Ibrahim Traore is now facing the same criticism that he once leveled against his predecessors. Speculation about internal tensions within the military have been brewing for quite some time now. Not just the people, but soldiers have also expressed frustration at the junta's failure to contain the security crisis after a series of high-profile attacks. After ousting French troops, junta governments in Burkina Faso, Mali and Niger have turned to Russia for bolstering security in their countries. Last week, planes carrying Russian military instructors and reinforcements were dispatched to Burkina Faso for Ibrahim Traore's security. Earlier, the three West African military governments also vowed to coordinate to fight jihadists. Some Malian officials also reportedly were dispatched to Burkina Faso. Now, according to a Reuters report, a Russian-registered cargo plane made 7 trips to Burkina Faso's capital from Gao and Bamako in Mali between the 15th and the 18th of June. In his address, Burkina Faso's military leader, Ibrahim Traore, also said that 6 Russian planes had flown from Mali's Gao carrying UN equipment following the conclusion of a mission there. Russia has reportedly been trying to ensure that Traore's administration remains stable. When discontentment with French politics left a void in Burkina Faso, Russia hopped onto the opportunity to deepen its influence. This helped Moscow make further inroads in Western Africa. Earlier this month, Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov also visited Burkina Faso and assured the country of support in its fight against Islamist militants. So while Russia has been growing its footprint across Africa, its hold in the western region of the continent today is tighter than ever, and this poses a significant challenge to the West. Shifting focus to South Africa, where it has just been 2 days since Cyril Ramaphosa took oath as the country's president. He is heading what many call an unnatural coalition, and troubles for the newly formed unity government seem to have started already. One of the lawmakers who was sworn into Parliament last week has now been suspended for racist comments and hate speech. The lawmaker, Ruto Govt, has been from the Democratic Alliance, or the DA, which is a key member of the South African newly formed unity government. And the suspension comes as some of Govt's old videos surfaced, where he is seen using violent and racist language. Govt was repeatedly using local slurs against Black Africans, even calling for Black people to be killed. In another video that has surfaced, he implied that white people are subject to reverse apartheid. He went on to say if Africa disappeared off the earth, no one would notice. Now, Govt tried to insinuate that the videos have been distorted. Taking to social media, he said one of the videos was 16 years old and that he had already apologized for it back in 2013. He also refuted the claims of him being racist. However, his party, the DA, did not come to his rescue. The party has admitted that the videos are genuine and not fake. Senior members have called language used by Govt unacceptable. And thus, he has now been suspended as an MP. Now, the action came after around 40,000 people signed a petition for his removal. South Africa's Human Rights Watch has also reacted, saying it would institute proceedings against Govt for hate speech and harassment. Ruto Govt is a former councillor and has remained a controversial figure. He is very active on social media and in the past had often criticized South Africa President and the ANC chief Cyril Ramaphosa. However, after the 29th of May election, the Ramaphosa-led ANC had to do something never done in history. Nelson Mandela's party, which fought apartheid in South Africa, lost its 3-decade-long majority for the first time. Ramaphosa then all the other parties. After weeks of hectic negotiations, a deal was finally struck between the ANC and its main rival and the runner-up in the elections, the centre-right DA. Other smaller parties are also a part of the government. Many ANC supporters did not favour an alliance with the DA, as the party is criticised for being that of a white privilege. The latest incident only adds to the worries of many who see an alliance with the DA as a potential throwback to South Africa's painful past of racism. Govt's suspension also comes when Ramaphosa is yet to pick his cabinet members. Negotiations on cabinet formation are still ongoing, and as per reports, ANC and DA are locked in disagreements over the cabinet ranks. So while a major hurdle of government formation has been overcome, the real challenge of governance remains in South Africa. And finally, to our special segment, Resurgent Africa. Amid reports of coups and crises that dominate the headlines from the continent, we get you positive stories that often get overlooked. And today we bring you a report about the music from Africa, specifically Gabon. Be it Nigerian Afrobeat or South Africa's Amapiano, African music is not just conquering global charts, but has also triumphed at the Grammys. Some genres, however, are yet to transcend borders. One such subgenre was born in the prisons in Gabon. The music is increasingly going viral in the Central African nation. Here's more.
From topping global charts to breaking records and to viral numbers, music from Africa is sweeping the world. So much so that the Grammys this year had to create a separate category for the genre. The world is dancing to Africa's tunes, but African music is not just about the famous Afrobeats or pop songs that quickly become a sensation. It's much more diverse. While many subgenres have made a global impact, there are others waiting to transcend borders. And one such subgenre is Gabon's Sham, a music born in the prisons of Gabon. Sham is a slang that basically means brawl. So the music expresses a lot about violence among the working class neighborhoods, including robberies and assaults. The genre began with dance and music came afterwards. Inspired by rap, Afrobeats and traditional Central African music, Sham is now the most enjoyed music among Gabon's youth. Its artists are notching up millions of views.
Sham left prisons and reached the streets. You need to understand that the word Sham basically means to fight. That's why they often have their fists clenched when they dance. Surely it's a fight to regain freedom.
Though inspired by other popular genres, it has its own instruments including zithers, flutes and brass. Most artists use slang in their lyrics, saying they have mastered the language of Gabon's ghettos. Those who have spent time in prison hope to counter prejudice they have faced with their music.
We touch on what we see in our daily life. It's what we see that we convey in our music. Even though people have bad impressions of it, we talk about what we see.
In just months, Sham's songs are gaining hundreds of thousands of views. The surging numbers are giving these artists the confidence of taking their art global.
I'd love to see Sham music reach outside Gabon, because our music is well listened to at home, which is good, but it needs to be discovered in new countries, new horizons. That truly is my goal, for Sham music to reach outside and if possible, have featurings with artists from outside. In our Sham music movement, this is really my goal.
To take their music to different parts of the world, Sham artists are coming up with creative promotional strategies on social media. Social media platforms have contributed immensely to the boom in African music. From viral trends on TikTok to comic reels on Instagram and streams on music platforms like Spotify, it's helped amplify the careers of several African musicians. And now, Sham artists are also tapping into it. And with every song they release, they are hoping to create another viral rhythmic trend.
And that's it for this Friday edition of the show. We will see you again at the same time on Monday. Thank you for watching. Have a great weekend and goodbye.